Hello everyone, my name is Kinetic and welcome to a very special Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls review, I guess. This is going to be a combination topic, not just talking about Reaper of Souls, the new expansion, but also just talking about Diablo 3 kind of in general as a whole. How it started, how it's evolved, and where we are at now with this this very popular ARPG. About myself, really quickly, in case you're wondering if I'm just some random noob talking about Diablo and Blizzard games, I'm actually very familiar with Blizzard games. I've been playing them a very long time, Diablo included. I'm a huge fan. I love not just the gameplay, but also the lore. I'm talking about the Eternal Conflict, Sanctuary, the characters and things like that. It's really one of my favorites. So I hope that gives you a little bit of confidence that the person you're listening to right now is not a complete noob and has some value to his opinion maybe. But we should probably start now with talking about the original launch with Diablo 3. I think Blizzard had some very good intentions and had some very brave ideas for trying to bring Diablo 3 into a very scary 21st century of online gaming. There were controversial features right from the start, especially the two being always online and the real money auction house. Now, unfortunately, these two measures seemed necessary because of hacking and also because of real money trading. Always Online is an attempt to try and prevent as much hacking and modding as possible, because unfortunately there's a lot of players out there that want to, for a number of reasons, either because they're really competitive about things and need to try and squeeze out an edge somehow, or just for fun they like to try and tinker and break games to turn on God mode or whatever. So Always Online is unfortunately necessary, it seems, even now. And the real money auction house is brought in to try and combat against third-party companies trying to profit from Diablo 3 players who they knew were going to exist. Blizzard knew, especially from Diablo 2 and from World of Warcraft, that real money trading has become more popular than ever. And what that means is players go to third-party websites on the internet and they purchase gold, they purchase items, they purchase power leveling, characters, even accounts with real money, which it depends on your opinion, but from my perspective, there's nothing really that wrong with real money trading, but unfortunately there are a lot of problems that go with this shadow industry, this black market, so to speak, of real money trading, because a lot of these companies don't just deal honorably when it comes to giving out, or I should say selling gold and items and things like that. There's a lot of shady companies out there that try to steal your account information, to break into your account, to steal back what they just sold you so that way they can sell it to somebody else and rinse and repeat the process. It's a really scary thing, and Blizzard has had a tremendous number of headaches, I imagine, from customer service issues regarding scamming, hacking, and all those different things. So that's the reason why we had Always Online, or have still Always Online, and had the auction house. The auction house actually is now completely closed. If you didn't know that by now, that's right, time to break out your party hats. There's no longer an auction house. That may actually be, of course, bad news to some people. I should be a little bit considerate and sensitive to those people that did like the convenience of the auction house. Admittedly, I usually like auction houses very much in RPGs, but with ARPGs, especially Diablo, I mean, the very soul of the game, from my opinion, is about you going out there either by yourself or in groups, killing shit tons of monsters and hoping for awesome legendaries. But the auction house killed that experience, and it didn't help that there was also a really bad original loot system for Diablo 3, which was completely broken, giving people worthless crap, hardly any legendaries, and really goofy stats like strength and intelligence mixed together. It was a mess. In short, the original launch with connectivity issues and with the auction house was just a mess, and it didn't take long for the population to go from millions to just a few thousand, unfortunately. But Blizzard immediately started to try and turn things around, which meant that a lot of things that they had originally planned, for example, PvP, had to be put on the side burner until they could really work out the kinks with the core experience of Diablo 3, and even led to pretty much what it seems now an indefinite postponement of PvP features in the game. But we'll talk about that more. I think what I probably need to get out of the way now is the elimination of the auction house also meant that Blizzard still had to find some way to prevent third-party companies from trying to profit from Diablo 3 players, and that brings us into bind on account. And this is probably the greatest controversy of all for Diablo players. It's either the sugar or it's the lemon for you, probably. I know there's a lot of people out there that absolutely hate bind on account, and I totally understand it. I totally get it, because trading has been a big part of a lot of Diablo players' experience. A lot of their sort of end game fun is farming for items and then selling it or trading it to other players in the game, and sort of building wealth. It can be a fun experience, I think, in online games and RPGs and things like that. But unfortunately, like I said, without the auction house, that just opens the door right back up then for third-party companies to manipulate players and the game to try and make money. And so we have bind on account, which means that gold cannot be traded, legendaries cannot be traded. Some things still can be traded, but with bind on account restricting those things, the market is very, very limited now, and there's not as much profitability from these third-party companies trying to make money using Diablo 3. And that's unfortunately a necessary sacrifice that needed to be made, especially in my opinion. I am one of those people that is pro-BOA. I'm not against trading. I think it's great. And I'm not even against people buying with real money gold or items or stuff like that. But it's the negative side effects that come from these companies that try to scam and try to hack players' accounts and stuff like that. If it wasn't for that, then I don't think even Blizzard would have a problem with real money trading and stuff like that, or even in offline mode. But those are the realities of online gaming in the 21st century, is hacking and real money trading. I think it's great, the spirit of having a piece of gear or extra gold or something like that, and wanting to help out a friend in college to maybe catch up a little bit in the game, or help out your brother, or even help out your wife, playing together in Diablo. That's great, and I really wish that something could be done to allow those people to do that, but unfortunately it's not happening. It's not going to happen probably, if ever again, in Diablo, unfortunately. The positive news or side of things is that alongside with BOA, we also have a new Loot 2.0 system, which is fantastic. Way before I even touched my Crusader in Reaper of Souls, I got into Loot 2.0, and it is really, really good. Almost everything now that drops is good for your class. There are still some extra items you may get, but it's not always bad. You may get, for example, playing on your Barbarian, you may get like a two-hand intelligence staff or something like that, but you're gonna need something to give to your Enchantress, right? She needs upgrades as well, doesn't she? Or Lyndon, he's gonna need a new crossbow at some point, right? So that's kind of cool that some of these items are still dropping, and I think eventually Loot, even as great as Loot 2.0 is now, I think that Blizzard is set a really great base for their new loot system, and is only going to get better, hopefully, in Diablo 3. And now I think it's time we talk about Reaper of Souls. I have just finished 2 days ago I only just finished Act 5 in Reaper of Souls, and that's not because it was that long of an act. I mean, I got the expansion as soon as it released. I had it pre-ordered, and I didn't jump right into Act 5. What I did was I started a new Crusader. I was very excited to play a Crusader because it's just my kind of class. I love the type of class that uses melee, short range, long range, weapons, magic, big armor, and stuff like that. It's the perfect class for me. And Act 5 is surprisingly long. It's definitely as long at the very least, if not longer, than any of the acts 1 through 4 in Diablo 3. And you combine this with so many side activities and side dungeons and things like that, that you really do get what seems like a very lengthy experience. I played my Crusader from the start. I leveled through Acts 1 through 4 very slowly, trying to continue to unlock more achievement points to kind of get close to 4,000 achievement points now for my account, and it was a lot of fun. I had a really great time, and by the time I got to the Act 5 of Reaper of Souls, I was playing on somewhere in between, kind of bouncing back and forth, Master and Expert difficulty, and it was really fun. One of my favorite things probably about the Act 5, not just the length of it feels really good, but there's a lot of awesome side dungeons that you can get into. In fact, I was actually in a dungeon that I thought was part of the main storyline, and I was in there for well over an hour on the first level and then on the second level, and by the time I finished it and I realized that it was going to send me back to the previous area, that's when I realized it was only a side dungeon, and my mind was blown. I was like, what? That whole thing was just a side dungeon? I was amazed. I truly was by how much of an extra experience I felt like I just had from this side dungeon. And there are so many of those in Reaper of Souls, and better than that, not just how they add extra time and experience, but the side events actually feel a lot more meaningful to the story. When you go in there, you're going to be experiencing something that is kind of also a part of the overall story of what's happening. For example, in Westmarch, you may be saving a family or preventing a rebel group from doing something negative, or unfolding other dramas that are taking place because of all of the chaos, and it adds so much more feeling and memorability about these side dungeons compared to the Diablo 3 side dungeons. Those were almost forgettable completely, but I guarantee you will remember most of, if not all of these side dungeons in Reaper of Souls. They're really fun, and a lot of memorable moments. I'm trying not to spoil anything. There's just some really cool and memorable moments that almost had me laughing or crying at some points. It was really a fun experience. Along with the main story, also, and getting a more personal experience with just random NPCs, you're also going to have a greater time with getting to understand your artisans. For example, Hadrig, Shen, and the new Mystic artisan all have branches of their story that you will go into more detail about. And even better than that, in my opinion, is the extended story and understanding of our followers, Cormac, Lyndon, and the Enchantress, whose name I, for some reason, can never remember. It's like Elena or something like that, right? You can tell I don't really use her that much. But anyway, all three of those followers also have side quests where you help them unfold some mystery or some problem that they have, and it really adds a lot more personality and fun experience to this expansion pack. The voice acting is top-notch, the sound, the music, and stuff like that, all really good in Reaper of Souls. I think that probably even better than the music somehow was the voice acting, especially for the followers. I found were really enjoyable. Graphically, I think it's very clear that the textures and the overall visuals of Reaper of Souls is a big step up from the original game. I know a lot of people out there probably prefer the older Diablo 2 style and probably like other ARPGs because they followed that style. For example, Path of Exile or Grim Dawn have a very traditional kind of Diablo 2 feel, but Blizzard has their trademark look now. There's no mistaking it. It's a part of all of their games now, and I think that they did a pretty decent job most of the time in the character designs, the textures and things like that, the environments for Diablo 3, but it seems like they really got a much better understanding of how to create detail and a believable and interesting atmosphere for Reaper of Souls environments. I think Westmarch is one of the best looking areas I've seen in any ARPG. It is really great to look at. Pandemonium is also a really awesome place to go to. When you enter the fortress, there's this epic moment of you trying to break in with a battering ram. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's amazing and tons of fun. I think that the story is a little bit simple. It could have been maybe more complex and interesting for some ways to create more plot twists or something like that. There's really not any big surprise moments or anything like that. It's a very straightforward and pretty simple story. What makes up for that simplified story is the variety of extra stories that do take place, though. Like I said, in the extra side dungeons and the extra quests with your followers, and even the locations that you do go to, I think, also serve as extra flavor to the story. Just going to Westmarch and to Pandemonium, I think it in itself is a great part of the storytelling for Reaper of Souls. There's even some extra fun story that comes along with the new enemies. If you take the time to click on the little lore button in the bottom right corner when you experience a new fight with a new monster, you'll get some interesting dialogue from familiar voices and also from some of the new characters in Reaper of Souls. So altogether, I think the story is pretty well done. It's not the most amazing story ever told, but I do think that it's very interesting, particularly in the way that it ends. But of course, I don't want to spoil that for you. Maybe I will make that a separate video where I can discuss spoilers and things like that about how can I say, the fall of the Angel of Death. Probably what a lot of people want to know more than anything when it comes to Reaper of Souls, is it worth the price? And I have to say that if you were not thrilled with Diablo 3 at all in any way, if Diablo and ARPGs are really not your thing, I don't think Reaper of Souls is going to change that. Reaper of Souls is, and Diablo 3 overall now, is just a better version of what it was supposed to be. In fact, I see a lot of people say that around various parts of the internet, that this is the Diablo that we always wanted, or this is the Diablo 3 that we've been waiting for, or something like that. There's a lot of positivity for what is supposed to be a better ARPG experience, but I don't think that it's going to be something that pulls in a lot of new players into the genre that otherwise wouldn't like grinding. There still is a lot of grinding. That's what it's about. Killing shit tons of monsters, either solo or with friends, and hoping for loot, and that's just about it. Thankfully, Blizzard did recently announce, well, not really announce, but it was confirmed by Blues at Blizzard on their forums that there are going to be a sort of type of season and ladders coming up in Diablo 3, and thank God for that, because that is something that I even made a whole video just talking about ladders, that I really think that ladders needed to be put into Diablo 3, and they have finally been confirmed. So that's a huge plus for me, man. I am going to be so addicted to ladders. It's going to be a really great time. But getting back on topic, is Reaper of Souls worth the $40 price tag? I say yes. It has a good story, it has some great moments, great new features, including the adventure mode, the bounty runs, the Nephilim rifts and stuff like that. There's a lot of extra content here than what meets the eye. It's very simple and easy to kind of see, it only being one act and one extra class and stuff like that, but that act is quite lengthy. That class is really fun, and like I said, adventure mode and stuff like that is almost like an endless dungeon and possibilities of having some really unique and fun experiences in Diablo 3, and also giving you a new way to grind and find loot for your characters. Speaking of classes, there's been a lot of changes to the way that they work in the recent patch with Barbarian, Witch Doctor, Monk, Demon Hunter, Wizard. All of those classes have had some small or major changes brought to them, but I think that overall those changes were very positive in bringing kind of the essence and the theme of what that class was really about and strengthening that. So for example, the Wizard feels kind of a bit more magical in a sort of elementalist way, which I think is an improvement. And there's also some really cool things that they've done to, for example, the Monk, who was supposed to be arguably all about agility and moving around the battlefield quickly and fast punches and stuff like that. They've enhanced that even more recently in Diablo 3, and so I think if you're coming back from several months or even maybe as long as since the original launch of Diablo 3, you're going to feel probably, if you can remember, some very different changes and kind of mechanics in the way that your character plays or can play. I think that there are more options and more ways to build characters now in Diablo 3 than ever before. And thankfully, even though we only have one class, like I said, the Crusader has been made very, very well. I played it through all of the acts, lots of hours into it now, and it is really, really fun. Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls is not the perfect ARPG by any means, but it is a much better version of what it was not that long ago, and Reaper of Souls, despite having what seems like a pretty high price tag, is definitely worth it to those that are looking for more action in Diablo 3. I think with the work that they've done for Loot 2.0, for Paragon, leveling, the adventure mode, the upcoming ladders and seasons, and whenever the hell PvP finally gets brought in, the value overall is definitely there. You're not just really paying for one act and one class. You're really paying, I think, Blizzard for their work overall, and they've done a tremendous amount of work to bring Diablo to the level that it's supposed to be at. I don't really give out like numerical scores for any of my reviews when I do a review, but if I had to give Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls a number, I would say from a scale of 1 to 5, I would give it 4 stars out of 5 stars. It's a really great game. It's worth the money if you are into this type of game, but it's not going to be the most amazing experience, and it's not going to revolutionize ARPGs and turn blood into wine for players that didn't like playing this type of game before. If you're interested in knowing more about the story, if you're interested in trying out the Crusader, to seeing the awesomeness that is Westmarch and Pandemonium, definitely pick up this expansion. It's worth the $40 price tag. If you haven't by now, definitely leave me a comment and let me know what you think about Diablo 3 as a whole. Let me know what you think about Reaper of Souls. If you are even interested in joining my clan, the Nephilim Bastards, then you can contact me as well, especially via my social networks of Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'd be happy to invite you to come over and do some fun with us in the Nephilim Bastards clan. Be sure to click the like button also and to support Diablo 3 videos here on my channel. And if I see enough support, I would gladly like to bring more Diablo 3 coverage here to my YouTube channel. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Stay subscribed for more. My name is Kinetic. See you next time.